Tactical Foul Podcast. Champions League semifinal games or first leg are done and through. My name is Tigo. That is my good friend Kevin. Kevin, how are you feeling today?
Man, I feel very neutral at the moment, especially considering my team tied the game.
Don't lie. You're cautiously optimistic.
I am very optimistic, but look at this. I said I was going to get the jersey, bro.
He did it. He finally admitted that for the last 2 years that he's been a closeted Arsenal fan.
I wish it would have came in on the Arsenal game, so that way I would have been wearing it while Arsenal was playing, but it came in today. Today was Barcelona's game. But I really want to get into, firstly, the Arsenal game because
Arsenal PSG.
There's a lot to say. Yeah, the Arsenal PSG game. Dude, there's a lot to say about it. At the Emirates.
PSG walk away with a win away from home.
Listen,
and now
man.
Arsenal have to travel to the Parc des Princes and not just like walk away with a draw or maintain it. They have to go out there and they have to score goals and they have to go for a win.
100%. 100%.
But boy, what a game.
It was a game.
It was a game.
It wasn't like the Barcelona-Inter game, which we'll get into.
But before we get into any of those, I just wanted to say, as a neutral, like if you're going into this as a neutral, and I'm very clearly not going in as a neutral, I have a team I want to win because I dislike very, very much. Partially, you could even say hate the other three teams. But even with that, two absolute bangers of semifinal games, Arsenal PSG and Barcelona Inter. Sorry, you were saying Arsenal PSG first game.
Man, look, dude, there's a lot to take away from this game. Firstly, every time, and I think I texted you this as it was happening, every time I see PSG, they scare me more, man. It scares me more even thinking if we get past Inter, if Barcelona gets past Inter, facing PSG in a final is going to be a challenge.
Unlike anything that PSG plays so uniquely that dude, there is no preparation for them.
And listen, I've been watching a lot of things, and though I do feel like Luis Enrique still has some structure to this team, it is definitely very chaotic when it comes to that middle side. He's got his back four very fixed.
Yes.
In the sense, he's got his back four very fixed and very structured. And maybe even his two mids.
Nope.
But just looking at looking
Not
at
even them, dude.
Looking at Dembele, Doué, Kvaratskhelia,
Barcola when he comes on, Neves, Ruiz.
All of it, Neves. Oh, dude, it's a chaotic, but it's chaotic and at the same time systematic in the sense of they're in sync.
That's the thing. It is chaos, and it's not pre-planned, and it's not players filling positions, and it's not rotational. Chaos. I don't even think it's rotational. It's not even rotational because you don't see players filling in. Dude, it is. This is to me truly letting the players dictate what happens on the field. Because there were times when they had the ball where 6 players were on one side of the field, on one half of the field. 6. There was a time where if you paused, Hakimi, Doué, Neves, Kvaratskhelia, Vitinha, and Ruiz were all on the same side of the field.
Yeah.
And the only people on the other side was Dembele. No, it was Dembele and Ruiz were
definitely something and I think that the reason why Luis Enrique is doing this now previously to other times, it's just the quality of players that he has. And I think that bringing in Kvaratskhelia was huge for them because I don't think they would be able to play like this. They wouldn't be able to play like this without a player like that.
No, yeah, he was the missing piece. And I think that the thing that I find so impressive with this, and a lot of people are like, oh, so you lose the best player in the world in Kylian Mbappe and you get better. How does that happen? Defensive work rate. That's plain and simple. That's the answer. The answer simply is whenever they lose the ball, every single one of these players turns around and sprints. Not jogs, not walks. They sprint to their own box to get back in defense.
One thing that I do take away from this game on Arsenal's end. I feel like Arsenal had good chances in this game. Regardless of course, I feel like PSG had the better, more quality. chances in this game than Arsenal. Arsenal still had good chances in this game.
Donnarumma put on a
They
masterclass.
Yes, Donnarumma did very good, and Martinelli also just was unlucky, and not even just unlucky. His shots just weren't good, but he had good chances, and it just seems like Arsenal they can still turn things around. It's not a terrible result for them.
Yeah.
But going into Paris, I mean, it's gonna be an uphill battle no matter what you look at it because of
going
the
to the Parc des Princes is not an easy thing to do, bro. The PSG Ultras showed up at the Emirates an hour early, and we're bouncing in that stadium. Like,
it's gonna be an insane game.
Yeah.
But I do feel like if Arsenal can kind of stick to their guns and just kind of defend them like they kind of did towards the end there.
I think the rest of the team needs to show up. If I'm being honest, I think that this is a fair criticism for Arsenal. Like, it can't be Declan Rice versus PSG because that's almost what it seemed like in this first game.
It was
Declan Rice versus PSG, and it's just like you can't have that happen. You can't let a lucky goal because let's be very real here. Dembele's goal hit off his shin and goes into the side netting. Like, you can't let that happen.
Check this out though, man. Without Gabriel, dude, it's so difficult for Arsenal to defend the way they want to defend.
And the set pieces aren't as lethal as the
set pieces. Yeah, same thing. Set pieces and the way that they defend isn't the same without Gabriel. Kiwior is just not.
He's not one of the best center backs in the world because that's what Gabriel is. And it's like, dude, that's not a diss at Kiwior. Like, you're replacing one of the best center backs in the world.
Another thing, though, that I feel like was a huge missing piece for this game was Partey. And I think Partey, when you put Partey back in the team, you can have Merino back in the false nine role, and I think that you can start making some passes into Merino, who's gonna be better positioned to have shots and to be able to create more space in between the lines when we're talking about Arsenal being in their half. So I do feel like.
I get a lot of people are coming in and saying, "Oh, Thomas Partey wasn't there. Arsenal wasn't able to play," and it's just like,
I mean,
I understand what you're saying.
It's not going to be a huge. Like, I'm not saying that. Oh, now because Partey is going to show up, Arsenal are going to magically play super better.
No. But my thing with that is I don't like that excuse.
But like it's a huge missing piece because I feel like they play very well when Marino's in a false nine role.
But like I get what you're saying, and I think that Marino probably does perform better in that central nine spot than Trossard.
Trossard did nothing in this game.
No, totally. But I think the thing that I think a lot of people, I think one of the things that a lot of people point to is like, oh, Thomas Partey is so important to the defensive output. Like, that goal doesn't happen, and PSG doesn't have as much possession if Thomas Partey is in there. And I was like, Mikel Merino was billed as the Thomas Partey replacement. Thomas Partey's contract ends at the end of this season. Him and Jorginho are going to walk out. That's why you went and got Mikel Merino. He's supposed to be that defensive anchor. I don't necessarily like that excuse. This is not me trying to take away. Let me finish real quick. This is not me trying to take away from what Partey provides, and then obviously by getting Partey comes in and provides a better defensive role, and then Mikel Merino is going to play better than Trossard. But I feel like too many people are saying the missing of Thomas Partey is the sole reason Arsenal didn't win this game, and I think that's throwing away what PSG were able to do. What we saw out there at the Emirates was two incredibly different teams going out there playing two incredibly different styles, going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And ultimately, what separated them was a lucky goal. If I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm going into this game saying this game is 0-0 because it was a lucky goal. And that's the outcome.
But listen to this, bro. Honestly, if we're being honest here, and I'm not trying to take anything away from PSG, because PSG played a phenomenal game. They should have scored more.
Yes, that Barcola chance at the end of the game, they're going to regret missing that.
The Barcola chance, the Gonzalo Ramos chance,
that too.
All of those should have been in. 100%. I'm not taking away from PSG's game. PSG played a much better game than Arsenal. That's a fact, right? That's a fact. But I do think that with Partey, this game shifts. It makes it into a different game simply because of the defense, because we're talking about two pieces here that are crucial. And yes, I get that Mikel Merino came in to kind of replace Partey or whatever, But the thing is that the reality of the team now has changed because Marino is no longer that like the midfielder that they bought him for or that they wanted to use him for. Now he put him in a whole new role that he is thriving in and that he's doing really good in. And so you put in Thomas Partey back on the team, and now you're gaining a different attack and a different defense because at the end of the day, Partey is the one doing the running. And if we're looking at that Dembele goal, he was so free right there, and that's where Thomas Partey is normally at. That's why people say, not taking away from PSG, not saying that if Thomas Partey was there, it wouldn't have been a goal or whatever. I'm just saying it's a different game now when you have the Thomas Partey in. Not taking away anything from PSG again, because PSG completely dominated Arsenal here. And yeah, they're gonna go in the Parc des Princes. They're gonna do their thing, and I'm sure Arsenal it's gonna be a very big uphill battle for them. The only thing that I want to take away from Arsenal in a positive light, because it'd be easy for us to just sit here and be like, well, PSG have it in the bag now.
No, that's not fair to say.
Exactly.
No, we got a game. We got a game. We got a really exciting one.
Come in and I think Thomas, because really the only difference that's going to be in that game is going to be Thomas Partey. So that's what I'm intrigued to see is how Arsenal are going to defend and attack now with him in the team, because the game is essentially going to change. Not saying again that PSG aren't going to have a grand old game like they always do and go and dominate at big moments in the game and have chances, because they're going to have chances for sure in the second leg. It's just how Arsenal are going to be able to attack now and also defend those chances. So I think that the positive light that I'm going to take away from this game particularly, and then if you want, we'll move on, is that Arsenal had chances. And
yes, they did.
Regardless of PSG playing a much better game than them, they had their chances, and they had a lot of opportunity here to equalize the game. And it didn't happen for them, but that's okay. And I think that that's one positive thing I want to take away from this game for Arsenal. And going into the second leg, it's going to be an interesting watch seeing. I think it'll be a different game in that sense of like now they're going to be playing sort of a different system with Marino as the false nine and having Partey as the DM. So that's what I want to take away from this. And I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
No, I just think that I agree. If it wasn't me trying to take anything away from Arsenal, I just dislike that excuse of like,
it's not an excuse.
You know, like the whole Partey is like, oh, they like Arsenal would have dominated, because I don't think that's true.
No, that's not true.
And I know that's not what you were saying. That's just more.
Yeah, and more
Arsenal fans on the internet.
Arsenal fans get crazy. I get it.
But I think that one of the interesting things I did want to mention about like tactically the decisions that were made with a PSG, and I think that it's very, very, very interesting is the decision to play Doué over Barcola was a very, very astute tactical decision by Luis Enrique, because I think one of the things that he realized, and this is so brilliant from his mind, is that while he's exciting, Miles Lewis-Skelly is 18 years old. And there's no way that Miles Lewis-Skelly and Kivior, because he's the left-sided center back, are going to be able to handle the likes of Doué, Neves, Dembele, Kvaratskhelia, Ruiz, and Vitinha in any kind of combination. And they focused their attack on that side of the pitch. And that was a very, very astute tactical decision that they made.
That's the side where Dembele thrives.
But that's what I'm saying.
Dembele thrives in both sides because he's like both-footed. That's what I've always loved about Dembele.
And I do want to give him his flowers. We talked about it in passing.
Yeah.
Donnarumma absolutely put on a masterclass. If you're a team that needs a goalkeeper in the summer, you'd be stupid not to go and get Donnarumma. because like PSG are they're expected to move on from him and they're expected to sell him in the summer. And if you're a team that needs a goalkeeper and specifically just needs a shot stopper, and you're not necessarily no, because Man United needs someone who plays the ball with their feet, and that's where like Donnarumma's not all that great.
They don't. Not
No,
with,
but that's what Amorim wants.
Not with Amorim.
That's what he wants, yeah, because the goalkeeper
strike
comes
him
up
that
and
way.
distributes the ball, and so your back three turns into a back four because of the goalkeeper. Like it's a. We're not talking about Manchester United, but stick around, hit the subscribe button if you want to hear our Manchester United episode.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is Donnarumma was and should have been, and if he's not, the man of the match of that game. I think he was. He was so incredibly crucial to keeping that game 0 goals for Arsenal, and boy, what a game. And now we get to watch a second game in Paris. This is going to be, and like where Arsenal can't sit on the back foot. They can't be defensive. They have to go flying at PSG. And the great thing is we know that PSG isn't going to sit back and defend. They're going to go flying at Arsenal, and they're going to continue playing their chaos ball. And it is so, so exciting to watch. If you had to predict the outcome of this game in Paris, what is the score? What is the aggregate score? How does this game end?
I think, shoot, man. I mean, if we're being the Arsenal fan in me is gonna say 2-1. No. The Arsenal fan of me is gonna say 3-2.
Aggregate or in
aggregate.
Paris? Okay.
Aggregate.
So 2-1 in Paris for Arsenal.
1 in Paris for Arsenal.
Interesting.
That's my Arsenal take. My realistic take, and because I'm gonna say this because of my love for Luis Enrique. I love Luis Enrique. I think he's my favorite coach of all time. I think I'd even put him in. I'd put him over Guardiola because he has more personality than Guardiola, in my opinion. I think Guardiola is very smart. He's a very smart
We're not
guy.
talking about Pep, PSG. Go.
Hey, I don't want to talk about Pep. I'm just saying.
You like Luis Enrique. We got
I love Luis Enrique. I think he's so good, and he's evolved so much as a manager. He's got personality, and realistically, PSG played very good, and I think that they could walk away easily. If I'm being realistic, without the Arsenal bias in me, I'm gonna go 3-0 aggregate.
Wow.
Go to the Parc des Princes. If I'm being realistic, right?
I think
PSG could beat them 2-0 in the Parc des Princes. If they play as good as they did in this match, and Arsenal don't have answers for it, if Arsenal don't get answers for all the things that happened in this match, it's easily a 3-0. What do you think?
I'm not going to say easily about any of these teams. I think it's going to be an absolute war, an absolute bloodbath, and these teams should come in healthy, like not healthy, but healthy-ish, because like Arsenal, they're not in the league anymore. Like that's over. You're not going to win the league. Liverpool have officially won it against Spurs, and PSG won the league at the beginning of last month. So like they don't have to play anybody that matters, and so I am going to guess a 1-1 game at the Parc des Princes, which would then end up a 2-1 score with PSG going through. But like I think it might be like an extra time, like Gonzalo Ramos, like Marquinhos header, like something kind of magical in extra time, because I think that what we're going to see is a war, because we have two hard-headed, emotional, energetic, and passionate managers whose legacies really are kind of on the line here.
You want me
and
to
so
tell
I
you
love
something,
it.
Though I want to mention something a little
Quick, because I want to talk about Barcelona Inter.
Quick, a clip that I saw where one manager, Luis Enrique. I want you to, you know what? I'm gonna have you guess real quick.
Jose,
Have you guess? They asked one of these coaches if winning the Champions League makes the team big. One of them said no, and one of them said yes. Who do you think said yes, and who do you think said no?
I know Luis Enrique said yes.
You got it wrong, bro. Luis Enrique said no. They asked him, they were like, does the Champions League define a team and how good they are?
That's a different question. That's a different question.
Sorry.
That's a different question. No. I don't think any manager would say yes to that. And if a manager does say yes to that,
Arteta said yes.
yeah, well that tells you everything that you need to know about Arteta. Arteta's not a good manager. Like he's an average manager managing a squad that's value is over €1 billion. That's a conversation for a different episode entirely. But we got ourselves a game, and I want to pivot Barcelona versus Inter. Because when we came into this series, when we came into this semifinal, I thought that the game that was going to be high scoring, the game that was more than likely going to end 3-3, 4-3, that was going to have a bunch of goals, was going to be the Arsenal versus PSG game. Because those are two teams, maybe not Arsenal. I don't think Arsenal, obviously, we know their struggles in front of net. We saw that against PSG. But PSG do leave openings in the backfield, and we saw that in the long passes that Arsenal were able to do to create space and get attacks going. But I thought, like, if Arsenal are going to take advantage of those long passes, they might be able to score 2 or 3. And PSG, we know how good they are in attack. They'll be able to score 2 or 3. And I thought going into this game that we were going to see, look, Barcelona are going to have a hard time breaking down this Inter team. And Inter are going to have a hard time dealing with this high line. And while both of those things were true, what we saw from this game, let's be honest, of the 6 goals, were 4 goals that were kind of just magical. They were just kind of like, really? That's the goal that went in? And so we get a game that ends 3-3 at the Olympic Stadium in Barcelona. Dude, what are your thoughts going into that game? Like, how did... There's no way this is what you expected.
Not at all, man. I mean, I kind of did. Not... Well, I mean, looking at Barcelona...
3 goals from Inter?
Just even... Looking at Barcelona just as of late, especially when it comes to finals, they do this thing where they want to go for it really soon and then they concede, and it kind of happened against y'all. And so, not that I was expecting them to concede so early, but I was expecting at least a 2-2, or I was expecting at least 3 goals in this game, and I was hoping that we were gonna win 2-1, but it ended up. Yeah, becoming this like back and forth game. And I think that a lot of things happened in this game that surprised me. I think Lamine Yamal, man, that boy just, man.
Magic.
What he did was magic. Man.
There's no other word for it.
It was crazy. There's no other word for it, dude. The kid is so good, man. And
the Red Sea parted. All the defenders got out of the way, and he just...
The other chance, did you see the other chance that he kind of curled in that hit the post, man?
Yeah.
And it was like...
Right on the outside of the post?
Like this. It was just a little bit less power. That would have gone right in. Donnarumma just looked at it. Like,
not Donnarumma, Sommer.
Didn't go in. Or, yeah, my bad. Sommer looked at it like, oh.
There it is. There's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, insanity. The kid is so amazing. He just ceases to amaze me, man, and I'm so happy to have him on my team.
Barcelona, fun fact before we keep moving on, now hold the new record of the fastest goal scored against them in the Champions League semifinal phase. 30 seconds.
It was a surprising goal, man.
Dude, insane! Who was going to guess that Thuram was going to do a little heel flick in?
Man, that was crazy. That was pretty magical.
30 seconds in.
30 seconds in. I think that what kind of got him there was Martinez kind of slipped and wasn't able to defend that very well. We made a lot of mistakes in this game. I think that goal really just set it up for it to be that back and forth.
Which was surprising to me.
We're looking at 2 corner kicks. I think the thing that worried me the most about Barcelona was defending the corner kicks, man. And against this team who's just physically bigger than you.
We were talking about this before the podcast, and this was one of the things that I brought up, which is just like, this is where Barcelona is going to struggle going into the second game, and Hansi Flick, who is a good manager, needs to find a solution for it, is the fact that I think it's 6 players on this Inter Milan team are over 6 foot, and Barcelona only have 2. It's both center backs. They have 2 players that are over 6 foot, and and this is where Lewandowski possibly coming back for the second leg is so huge, because you get another aerial threat. Yeah. And this what we saw from Hansi Flick playing Inigo Martinez at the left back position, and being able to bring in Araujo, because if you were able to finally get big bodies in that situation and big boys to come in and fight the set pieces, you've taken something away that Inter do so incredibly well, which is physically dominate teams.
Yeah, yeah. I think Inter just did very good physically, man, and they played a good game. They played a good game. They knew what they came to do. They came to defend and to score. And I think you were right when you said. I think you said this a couple podcasts ago when we were talking about this fixture. Is you said, or I don't know if you've told me this personally or something, but you've always said that Inter score when they need to score and they defend when they need to defend. And I think that was a very good definition of what happened in this match in general. They defended well when they needed to defend well, even though Barcelona had moments of magic. I mean, even just looking at that Rafinha goal, that was just
Sluck. It's an own goal. It's not even a Rafinha goal.
It wasn't a Rafinha goal. It was an own goal. But I mean, just looking at that was pure luck. And I think that Inter played very well defensively against us. I think that it was just one of those games, man. It was just one of those games where Barcelona were able to pull away and they did well, but Inter also they're very impressive. They're a very impressive team. I'm not taking anything away from them. I do feel like we got the better of them personally. I genuinely feel that because without those two corner kicks, we had the chances. We had the chances to come and put this game away, and it didn't happen for us. But that's okay. And I think that if we just take what happened in this match and take it into the second leg and do it, even though it's an uphill battle, because we're talking about an away game at the San Siro and it's a tough stadium to play in, I do feel like we can do it. I saw a lot of chances in this game where we could have put it away. And Sommer, we also gotta give Sommer his flowers because he made some pretty big saves in this match as well.
So did Chesney. Like I think here's the thing that we saw. 100%. There was like this opportunity that Yamal had, right, where he goes to the byline and he just jukes DiMarco out of his boots, right? Sends him flying, cuts back in and hits the bar. And it's just like, no, that's a goal if Sommer doesn't put a finger on that. That Rafinha shot that turns into an own goal, that's a save. He pushes the ball into the bar. That was going in. I think that Barcelona have an uphill battle here because
for sure
you needed the result, in my opinion. I think you needed the result
at
the Olympic Stadium. You needed to go into the San Siro with a win. And this is not me saying that Barcelona don't have a chance, that they're not going to win. No. We saw, because Barcelona, in the exact opposite way of how Inter play, where Inter tried to score a goal and then control the game, which is what we saw and them try to do against Barcelona. Barcelona is in the exact opposite boat where it's just like they can score whenever they want to score. If they just decide that they want to score a goal, they're going to go and do it. And there's most teams, there's nothing you can do about it. And I think a really good example of that is the Ferran Torres goal, right? Because it's just like everyone is kind of doing their job, but like Barcelona just did it a little bit better. Rafinha, the ball from Pedri to Rafinha is like Bisek didn't do a bad job. He just couldn't get there.
Pretty magical passes, and so
but that's what I'm saying. And Barcelona have that quality. They have the ability to do that. But I also think, and I think that this is a big thing when I look at this game, is that Inter also had an uphill battle in the second half, and I think that they handled it really, really well when they lost Lautaro Martinez, because Lautaro Martinez showed so much energy and pace and we saw what Thuram was doing to Kubarsi. He was getting bullied all game long.
I mentioned that.
Yeah,
and we took him out. We put Christensen in.
Which is wild, right? Because Christensen hasn't played all year. And it changed the dynamic of the game. And also if we want to excuses, right? Like, you guys didn't have Lewandowski, they didn't have Pavard. You could go down this line of excuses all you want. But what I'm saying is, and I think this is where I'll leave it, is Inter Milan kind of showed their hand. We all knew what Barcelona was going to do. Barcelona didn't come with anything different. They said, this is the Barcelona style. This is how we're going to play, and it's going to work. And we saw that. You guys scored 3 goals, right? But Inter showed their hand, and they said, no, but this is how we're going to play. This is, it's move, counter move. Barcelona came in, they were going to play the Barcelona style. Now Inter said, okay, you guys do that, but this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to play you guys. And now we get to see what is the chess match between managers of how does Hansi Flick adjust, if at all, to the physical domination that we saw from Inter Milan, and how does Inzaghi change and try to limit what we saw in terms of being able to essentially move the ball wherever you guys wanted on the field. You guys were able to pass to wherever and whoever you wanted on the field. How do you limit those passes so that you don't get a Ferran Torres goal? How do you limit those passes so that you don't get the foul that leads to the Rafinha
That's
shot
where
that
I'm-
ends up in an own goal? And
That's where I'm like, it's hard, man, when you have someone.
it's that's why these guys make millions of euros every single year, right? That's why they're managers and we're not. They have to answer that question. And whichever manager comes up with a better answer is going to walk away with it. Dude, I'm so excited for this game. Like you said, playing at the San Siro is not easy. This Inter Milan team came in with something new and fresh and exciting and a style that we really haven't seen from them this year. And we're finally seeing a team that can push this Inter team. And in the inverse, we're finally seeing a team that can actually push this Barcelona team, which is something we haven't had all year long. There hasn't been a team, in my opinion, except for Atletico in a small little stint. And then maybe you could say Real Madrid in the Copa del Rey final. I wouldn't, but whatever, that can actually push this Barcelona team. And we are being set up for back-to-back days, a Tuesday, Wednesday of absolutely dynamic and exciting football. If you had to predict,
this is one of the most exciting UCLs I've seen in a while.
I tend to agree. I think that because most of the time when we get to the semifinal, it's some team that has no business being there versus one, maybe two teams that like these guys are probably going to win, and then one team
deserve to be there, and they've shown it.
And I think that what we're looking at is 3 of the 4 best teams in Europe, and then one team that's kind of close. And I'll let the audience figure out who that kind of close team is. You guys know he's wearing the jersey, but. PSG are at the top of Europe. Barcelona are at the top of Europe. Inter are at the top of Europe. Arsenal is performing well. And whatever crap I want to say about Arsenal, they beat Real Madrid. They beat the current title holders. We're guaranteed going to have a new Champions League winner this year. And for 2 of these teams, it's the possibility of winning their first ever in club history. And for the other ones, it's putting them back on the map in European football and European contention, because I believe the last time Inter won a UCL, wasn't it with Mourinho? Wasn't that the last UCL they won? I don't know. And like, what was like the last one you guys won was with Luis Enrique, right? No. Whatever. It's been almost 11 years.
I can't remember. It's no. The last Champions League we won was with Luis Enrique.
So again, it's like it's Barcelona trying to put themselves on that world stage again, being like, no, we are one of the like, dude. This set of games is absolutely phenomenal. If you had to predict, obviously you're going to be biased towards Barcelona, but how do you truly think this game is going to end out? Individual game score and then aggregate game score.
I think Barcelona will come out with a win in the San Siro, and it's going to be a tough game, right? But I do feel like Barcelona will be able to. I think it's going to be I think now that each team has each other figured out, it's going to be a less score. Like it's not going to be as high scoring as it was on this one. I do feel like we will come away with a 2-1 win here. I genuinely feel like we played very good against Inter. I don't feel like Inter surprised us too much, other than what we know is they have better physical players. It was something very easy to predict and say. So it was just limit those corner kicks. And I feel like how many corner kicks did when you look at this team, how many corner kicks did they have in this game? I think they scored on 2. Let me look, actually.
I'm looking it up. You got it. They had 2 corner kicks. They scored on one of them.
2 goals and 2 corner kicks.
2? Oh, yeah, both, yeah.
2 corner kicks, 2 goals.
Yeah, but if you're batting 100, whew.
And I'm just saying, but if because it's just I don't know if Inzaghi's going to have an answer to because at the end of the day, the only reason we're playing with such a high line is because we have the quality to do so. Because if we didn't have the quality to do so, the high line just doesn't work. Because if you lose the ball constantly on a high line, you're just going to get countered. I don't feel like this Inter side gave me this like sense that they were super dangerous every single time on the counter. Like
No,
they
they're
had
not.
some
That's
good
not what they do.
chances. That's not what they do. But I think that I think Hansi has a task of figuring out just kind of defending those corner kicks when they happen. And if you take away those corner kicks, that's a 3-1 win. Because at the end of the day, Barcelona were shooting after shooting after shooting after shooting because they're playing so high. It's so hard with the quality of players that you have. I don't know if Inzaghi's, it's not an easy answer because there's just so much there. You've got a team coming up so high and being able to recover the ball. And a lot of times Barcelona recovered the ball in those spaces where it got dangerous for Inter. And so I feel like Barcelona will be able, and not that, again, I'm not taking anything away from Inter. They played a hell of a match. But I think that if Hansi can really start understanding how to defend those set pieces or those corner kicks or whatever, you know what I mean? I think that Barcelona are going to have a much better game than Inter in this next leg, and I think they can come away with a win.
See, I don't know, man. I don't know who's going to win this game. I think it's going to go the full 120 and be decided by penalties, if I'm being honest. I just don't know. There is no answer.
It's a tough one.
There is no answer, in my opinion, to the physicality that Inter are going to bring. You guys just don't have the player. And that's not a thing about, like, that's just Spanish football. You just don't have enough players on the roster that are going to be able to compete with that. And then also, I think one of the things that we saw from Inter.
When you talk about physicality here, I think that, I mean, what part of the game? I want to ask you, when you talk about physicality here, which parts of the game do you think Inter are more dangerous because of that?
I think they're more physical and more dangerous on the wings. I think in the middle of the pitch, I think they're all more physical than all of the players that you provide. So any ball that's in the air in the middle of the pitch is going to be a threat. I think all of your set pieces, if they aren't direct shots at the goal, they just get eliminated. You guys had 7 corners and not one of them I think you guys got a head on first. So like, if Inter can come in and just eliminate your set pieces entirely, like in terms of like crosses and things like that.
But we don't thrive off. We've never.
No, I'm not saying that they are, but if they can, and they did eliminate an entire aspect of the game, like that's the whole point. The one and so like I'm not saying that they're going to win or anything like that. I think the other thing that we saw from Inter. You said your bit. We're going to end it here. You said your bit on Barca. Yeah, I think that what we're looking at is we're looking at a team that had answers for Barcelona. They came out with a game plan for Barcelona. And here's the one thing that I know about Inzaghi from watching him at Inter Milan these last 2 years and being so impressed by what he's been doing. You could even argue the last 3 years, possibly 4, whatever it is. Inzaghi's not going to come into this next game with the same game plan. He's going to come in with something new, and he's going to come in with something fresh, and he's going to have this team operating at the best of their abilities because that's what Inzaghi has done with this Inter team. And we've talked about it before. Playing at the San Siro is not easy. It's not an easy thing. But when you can have individual moments of brilliance, like we saw from the Lamine Yamal goal, like we saw from the Rafinha shot that ended up being an own goal, even from the passage of play that led to the Ferran Torres goal, when you have the ability to out of nothing create something, which is something that Barcelona do have in bouts on their team in terms of quality and passing, that matters. And I have no idea who's going to win, but I think that if I had to predict, I think this game is going to end 2-2. And whoever scores the game-winning goal, I'll say it's Inter, it's going to happen in extra time. I think we're going to see 120 minutes out of this next football game because we're watching some of the best teams in Europe right now, and I don't think anybody's going to have an easy game over the other person. And I'm so excited to see this game at the San Siro because, let's be real, seasons are on the line. And Inter have done something which is very, very, very bold, which is they've essentially given up the Serie A title. They're resting their players for Barcelona. And Barcelona have essentially won the La Liga too, so they can rest their players because Real Madrid have medically retired not medically retired, but like medically ended the season for like half of the team. Barcelona have probably won the league, and that's guaranteed at this point. So what we're going to see, just like in the Arsenal PSG game, is two teams coming into this final well rested and ready for war. And that's exactly what we're going to see is war on that football pitch. I am so excited about this thing because I have, like, again, if you were to tell me, hey, Inter and PSG are going to win that or are going to win their games, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. And in the same sense, if you said no, Arsenal and Barcelona are going to win their games, yeah, that makes sense. Literally, any one of these four teams can go
Yeah,
out there
crazy. It's crazy to even think about
and
that.
score goals and
These
win
are
this
these are
series.
four of the best teams I think in Europe right now, and I just feel like, and obviously, yeah, when we talk about down the pecking order, Arsenal's the last one there, but I do feel like these are the four best teams in Europe right now, and they're doing great things. And when we talk about tactics, when we talk about play, it's the level of quality that we're seeing from this Champions League compared to other ones is some of the best that I've seen in a long time. But I think I'm going to close it out there, man. I think that we hit all the points that we needed to hit. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you guys for watching so much, and please let us know what you think. What do you guys think about these four teams? What do you guys think about the quality of play that we're seeing compared to other Champions Leagues? Let us know in the comment, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Tactical Foul. That is Tigo. I am Kevin. Peace.